Hey y'all, I'm Brooklyn, your friendly neighborhood witch, and today I'm going to do a reaction video to Sky Life's I learned a love spell from a real witch, something like that. As a witch, I wanted to react to it. First things first, if you think that this is going to be a hate video or just bashing on it or this like elitist gatekeepy type video, it's not going to be that. I'm going to watch it and give my honest opinion, but I don't want to be in the world of just like hating on things unless it's warranted. So I actually 2 years ago, I guess now, I did a reaction video to Colleen Ballinger's I Became a Witch for a Day, and I thought about re-uploading that on this channel because I did it on our Witches of Atlanta channel, but thing is, she took it down. I don't think she apologized. That video, I definitely not a fan by how she was depicting witches, like at all. It was really disrespectful. But since she took down that video, I don't know that I want to even re-upload it and rehash something from 2 years ago. But it is out there on the internet if you want to watch it. But I found that I actually enjoy doing reaction videos. But yeah, let's get started. I'm going to watch it.
Pleasure is magnetic. Let yourself feel this pleasure so that you can magnetize even more of everything you desire. It's really hard to do the kind of deep work that you have to do in order to excavate where your wounds are. It's so brave and it's so worth it.
Okay, I know we're only 17 seconds in, and but I do want to say that I do appreciate just even like coming out right in the beginning, showcasing some of the footage that they're showing. I think that a lot of people will probably look at something like this who aren't in the realm of the occult or mysticism and be a little off put by it, or, you know, maybe giggle at it or whatever. But I actually, so far, am already appreciating that she showcases this, so yeah.
It's February, and you know what that means. It's the season of love, so we're gonna get witchy and try and manifest me some love. Valentine's Day is coming around the corner, so I called Mia up and I'm like, hey, my love life is kind of suffering and I'm wondering if we can work some magic here to spice things up a little bit. Dating is not something I prioritize. I'm hoping that today I can sort of get more into that space of intimacy and connection and open that part of my life up a little bit more. So Mia was in this amazing priestess palace last time I saw her, and now she's sort of in this witchy cabin in the woods.
I know that for some traditional Buddhists, just having the Buddha head can be considered offensive because it's representative of colonization and imperialism. So just something to note. I don't know, I know a lot of people aren't even aware of that. I wasn't aware until there was that whole drama with Cozy Kitsune. I think before it was simply Kenna before, but I had no idea. Like, I didn't know that was a thing until all that happened. So chances are Mia is maybe just not even aware of that. But just for educational purposes, keep that in mind. I like her house though.
Welcome. Let's make some love.
Make some love. Magic.
Hi everyone, I'm Mia Magik. I am an ambassador for the ancient way in the modern day and bringing forward
Love the hat. I'm all for it. I love it.
all of our supernatural gifts and abilities to allow magic to be part of our everyday world so that we can all live happily ever after.
Love your new place.
Thank you.
It's a super witchy cabin. It's 100 years old. Here's Bear doing his little morning routine.
Hi.
This is what you'll get with the love spell. Yeah, exactly. There are like 100 different rituals that I did in order to call Bear in. I treated my spell like it was my man, doing this whole spell and then engaging.
Okay, I love, I don't know, something about that scene where she's just like looking in like the deepest love at Bear. I don't know, something about while he's like lifting weights. I just find that to be really, really cute and funny.
Aging with what you have created as if it is already the physical manifestation of the thing. And so for me, the primary fundamental element of Love Magic was seeing how I did and didn't love myself. So I'm like, okay, well, if I want a male partner, I needed to work on being more solid, stable, dependable, some of the things that I wanted in a man. Bear and I met at a retreat. He was so willing to listen to me. He cared about everything I was interested in. I just looked at him and I said, if I just came over and sat on your lap for a minute, would you just hold me? And I just came and sat on his lap, and I swear I felt my walls come crumbling down. And we've been together ever since.
You said this worked for you and your friends.
Yep. 4 at this point, like direct success rates of exactly what they wanted, so.
Mia, I'm scared. I don't know if I want a relationship right now. What if I accidentally manifest a relationship?
Okay, so I know I gave a little bit of a facial expression. I don't mean it to come across rude or whatever, because that's not what I meant by that. It just, that kind of hits me a little bit, that just before you go into doing any love spells, because I believe this says I learned a love spell with a real witch, and I'll see how this video progresses. I mean, Mia might help her, kind of help guide her along the spell and kind of cater it for her. So, but just off of first watch, it's very important before you go into doing any sort of spell work, to be of sound mind and be clear and concise with what you want to do. I think this is where doing a lot of grounding work, shadow work beforehand is important before doing any spell. And like I mentioned in my last video of tips for beginner witches, I talk a lot about doing research too. But especially doing grounding work and shadow work is important, because then, like in this case, you might find, why is it that you don't even know if you want a partner right now? And you might find you've got to work with some past childhood trauma or whatever before you go trying to manifest a partner. But we're only 2 minutes in, so this could evolve into something more.
Maybe it's what you need. My mom always reminds me that we can't always get what we want, we always get what we need.
Show me around.
This is where I do all of my little practices, lots of yelling, lots of inner child work, lots of healing. And all the altars like we talked about last time. So Lakshmi, abundance. This is a Jerusalem rose. Obviously all of my owl wings.
What exactly are we going to be doing today?
I have a couple of different ideas. Some of the most important things are figuring out what you really do want. We have a little tiny micro naughty ritual that I personally enjoy quite a lot. And then bathing rituals. Water holds memories, so we can charge an entire bath with everything that you want, all of your dreams.
I'm excited.
I know.
For me, what's going to be important is just getting clear on what I really want.
Yeah.
Because I don't even know.
Self-intimacy and working on who you are and what you need and what your wounds are, that's the foundational element.
Okay, so yeah, there it is. I wondered if she might kind of chime in. She kind of reiterated what I said. It's we need to make sure that the foundation is set before we go forward with any sort of love spell. So, okay, there we go.
I think one of the main reasons why we have so many issues around love and intimacy in our modern world is because we've really all been programmed out of our own power. Our entire societal system has really been built on programming us with poisonous, toxic beliefs that are meant to make us feel bad so that we buy more stuff. Buy this thing, or get this cream, or get this push-up bra, or get this car, and then you'll be good enough, and then someone will love you. Our wounds are what keep us buying things. If we can look at where the painful programming comes from, that will then allow us to excavate it from our own psyche and consciousness. So she's not sure she wants it. What are your experiences like with men in the past?
A main pattern, I always felt like they were wanting more of me and my time. I need to be independent.
Yeah.
So in the past, that's always been something that's gotten in the way. This guy I was dating would always tell me I work too much. My parents are very hard workers, and I want to have that same level of work ethic. But I also want to enjoy life, and I have guilt around pleasure. Anytime I would feel pleasure with someone, I would feel guilt.
So you want free.
That like that hits home for me, because growing up in a fundamentalist Christian conservative household, I didn't realize until I went into therapy and did shadow work and all of that stuff that I was still harboring a lot of those toxic mentalities even into adulthood, to where it was manifesting in a way where it was hindering me and my ability to connect intimately with people, or to really connect at all, but especially in an intimate and sexual way. And it's just, and I don't know if that's her same story, but that is a very real thing, a very, very real thing. And it can really rear its ugly head in different ways in adulthood.
Freedom from another person, but what you just said is that you don't feel like you can give yourself that freedom.
Yeah.
So there's a big confusion in who determines your freedom. You do. This is the love spell. If we don't have a fucking roadmap through our own psyche, like you could do 100,000 spells and they're never gonna work if you don't know what you're up against.
That part.
That's what this work is all about. It's not about like, snap your fingers, wear red and you're gonna magnetize your lover. No, it's like, how do you come into balance as a being so that then you attract a balanced being to you? Why do we crave a relationship? There's like the shadow side and the light. The light is because when you come into sacred union with another person, there's nothing better than that. And the shadow side is we want that, or we crave it because we need someone else to prove our worthiness to us. Everything's a reflection of you. So like if you always attract partners that talk down to you, then that's likely coming from some belief inside of you that would attract only that kind of person to you. I was always in
Okay, this is where I get it. I get the I understand the intention behind what's being said. However, I do think we have to be very, and nobody is perfect. And, you know, I know what it's like to be filming something on the spot, and then you kind of go back later and are like, I would have worded that differently. But it's hard to really think out what you're going to say when you're kind of interviewed. Even if you feel like you're prepared, you'll always leave it feeling like I could have said something or phrased something a little better. That being said, there is something I struggle with within the space of New Age beliefs. This concept of what you attract is a reflection of you. And so therefore, if you are attracting something that is negative or not conducive for you or detrimental for you, that it is a reflection of something you need to work on, and therefore you are inadvertently attracting it into your space, into your life. And I do believe that you can have certain toxic beliefs about yourself or certain traumas that have molded you into reacting the way that you react towards things. And then you don't end up setting boundaries because of that. And therefore the people that stay around you stay around and keep crossing those boundaries and doing those things because you have never maybe learned where your boundaries need to be set, or maybe you never learned that you need to set them. So let me give an example. I, again, with my conservative Christian upbringing, grew up I learned to keep myself very small. I didn't want to get in the way of anything. I didn't speak my mind on things because most of the time the thoughts that I really did have would have been considered sinful, or why are you questioning, God? Or even if it was quote unquote okay to ask questions and to question your belief, you would still be treated differently afterwards, because then everyone knew like, oh, she's got to keep an eye on her, she's questioning, and then therefore would treat you differently. And it wouldn't be like this huge mistreatment, but it would be incremental enough and consistent enough that you would know, okay, my family or my church family feels differently about me because I have maybe spoken up in disagreement. And so therefore I learned over time, and especially being someone who knew way before I liked men, I knew I liked women, and that I was sexually attracted to women. And so that also was a huge component as to why I stayed small. I didn't say much, especially if I disagreed with things. I certainly did not talk about those things because I had a Christian counselor growing up. So, you know, the help I would have been given with that would have definitely been conversion or pray it out of you, pray the gay away kind of thing. So that being said, speaking to like this whole what you attract or what have you, this taught me from a very young age and into, I would say probably until I was 24, maybe even later. I'm 27 now, and I'm still working through this. But this molded me into this person who just felt like in the face of confrontation or, in the face of confrontation or not being in alignment with someone else, to just stay small, stay quiet. And I didn't even know I really could set boundaries. I didn't know what that looked like, what communicating in a healthy manner with someone who is crossing those looked like. I just didn't know. And so as people, we are a social species. We have community. Statistically speaking, you're going to encounter hundreds of different people in your life. That's just going to happen. So that is where I disagree with the you attract that. I think that the law of averages is that you are going to meet different types of people. And I believe that sometimes those toxic people that stick around longer than they should, maybe stick around longer, not because you necessarily attracted them, but maybe because you haven't been equipped or learned yet the ways in which you should set your boundaries. Maybe you just aren't even aware that you can. Maybe you're afraid to because of certain childhood traumas or certain ways that you have learned to maneuver throughout life. So for example, when I encountered people in my life later on that were kind of reminiscent of that toxic behavior that I grew up with, instead of me saying right then and there, no, we're not going to do this, or no, that's not okay, I don't like that, I stayed silent and said nothing, and it inadvertently enabled that behavior, and it continued. And then the deeper it got and the more I was around it, the more depressed I got, the more introverted I got, and the more I withheld from speaking. And so the patterns continued, the behavior continued, and I just stayed silent and endured it, even though I didn't want to be enduring it, if that makes sense. So I do not believe that because you haven't healed certain aspects of your shadow self or whatever, that necessarily means that you are attracting toxic people in your life, and that and I don't think she's meaning like it's on you, you know what I mean? However, I do think we have to be careful with how we phrase and word certain things, because it can come across a little bit victim blaming. And for people who, like myself and like many others, who have really gone through some traumatic, I mean, I'm just scratching the surface. I don't even know on this channel how much I'll really divulge with my upbringing, not even just on the Christian side of things, but in a whole other side of things. Yeah, we just have to be careful, because you never know people's stories, and if they do come from a background similar to mine that was incredibly traumatic, it can sound a little victim blaming. So that's my only, I mean, this is why I do have some issues with the New Age movement. I do appreciate that we are trying to bring the ancient modalities, if you will, or the old practices and the old ways of the cunning folks and the wise folks, you know, what have you, into the modern world. I just think we have to be just mindful, a little bit more mindful with how we rebrand certain things and the words that we use. Again, no one is perfect, and I will probably rewatch this video and be like, I would have phrased that differently, you know? So, but I I hear that a lot in the New Age movement. I don't really hear that much in the witch community. I mean, maybe I do, but the point is, it's something that it's always irked me, being someone who's gone to a lot of therapy for childhood trauma and who has gone through a lot of very bad shit in my childhood. So anyway.
Horrible relationships until I worked on my own relationship with myself. If we don't know how to be intimate with ourselves, it's going to be really hard to be intimate with anyone else.
What is first?
Okay, yeah, and I do agree with the whole sentiment of we do have to work on ourselves. And I guess the long and short of what I was saying in the previous comment is that it took me working on myself and uprooting those triggers and those learned behaviors and those coping behaviors in order for me to grow and evolve as a person. It is an ongoing journey. A part of me does think that when people say that you attract certain people because of things you haven't maybe worked on, or it's a reflection of things you haven't worked on, whatever, a part of me does believe that that's essentially what they're saying. So I don't want to come across like too heavy-handed with that. But let's continue.
For our day of activities.
Well, since we've had this amazing realization around pleasure, it will be wonderful to do a little breath work around that, see if we can heal it. And one of the things that I just find to be so important in any love ritual is to honor the member that you will be giving much of your love and devotion to.
Oh no.
Don't worry, nothing too explicit will be happening here, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh my God, Mia, what are you gonna make me do for all of YouTube to see?
I'm gonna invite you to engage with this banana.
Oldest trick in the book.
Exactly.
Practice a blowjob on a little banana.
Exactly, except instead of practicing, this is not necessarily about your skill, it's about the presence that you bring to it. And about the way that if you had this banana, that you would want it to be tended to. Like for me, I'm like, let this be my energetic.
I think that they would probably mention this too, so this isn't a critique of them. But if you are not someone who is into someone that has a penis, you could if you were into someone that has a vagina, you could just replace that banana with maybe an orange, open up the orange, kind of split it in half, and we all know what that looks like. So just worth mentioning, you could replace that if that's if someone that has a penis is not something you're into, then that's an alternative. But I do love the utilizing fruit for this scenario. It is very helpful, and I love what she says about envisioning how you would want to be tended to. I think this is actually helping her with her issues that she's discussed about having a hard time feeling pleasure without feeling guilty afterwards. This is a good technique to do.
Yeah, I know.
We said it. There
Exactly.
We said the
there
word.
we said it. My partner calls it taking him to Ollivander's, the wand shop, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes I'll just put bear's cock like right on my third eye, and like it'll be like a meditative thing. Like I'm connecting to God. This is God's wand. This is God's right now. And so if you treat this like a wand, then it will make magic in your life.
You're about to hand me
Yes, I'm
the
going
wand
to
of pleasure.
present you with the wand.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, should I just lay down? Let me get some popcorn, you know what I'm saying? For those of you watching at home, it's about like, what do you want to bring to your partnership? And if it's love and devotion and you want that in return, then like, this is what you gotta do.
All right, let's just
relax.
go for it.
Yeah, and just connect to all of the senses that you can feel it, you can smell it, eventually you'll taste it.
Although the fruit ritual was quite an enlightening experience, I decided that this content was a little too X-rated for YouTube. All I'll say is that the banana tasted pretty damn good.
I never ate a banana like this.
Exactly, that's the point. If your whole day is for a love ritual and you present yourself to yourself, that's what allows that energy of love to swirl in.
I love that. If you present yourself to yourself. I also love that this is really helping tear down the internalized trauma of shame. Shame is a very huge part of our culture, and when it comes to consensual sex and sexuality and all of that. And so I think doing this type of work is very helpful and very important, because we've really got to work on shame culture with sexuality. It's just, it's terrible. It's just, it ain't it. So I love that they're doing this.
Into your vortex and come to life.
Present yourself to yourself.
Yeah.
That's why I hang out with Mia. She's dropping wisdom bombs and making me go to town on a banana.
Always doing some weird shit. I haven't even made you do anything that weird yet, please.
Shit, we're just
We're
starting.
still in elementary level.
We're still in kindergarten.
Yeah.
You wait, people.
One of my favorite things that Bear always says is easy choices, hard life. Hard choices, easy life. The hard choice is let me breathe into where I feel the wound. Wow, let me acknowledge that there's a wound at all. And it's uncomfortable to talk about, and it takes a load of courage to go deep into your wounds and want to heal them. But it's so brave and it's so worth it. Since we were talking about your pleasure and having shame around pleasure, I think it is important, you've just given some pleasure, to dive in with a little breathwork journey. So what we're gonna invite you to do is lay down. Start taking some long, deep breaths, feeling all the pleasure that you've just given. Yes, knowing you are so worthy of receiving this pleasure in return. Good, just bring long, deep breaths into the space. Good. Yeah. When the pleasure is complete, where does that shame or guilt live? Where does the piece that shuts down, that says that was indulgent or wrong, where does that live in your body? Yeah, good. Keep shaking. Let your body make any movements that will allow you to release. Good. Yeah.
Okay, so I love that. I love the idea of incorporating breath into ritual, utilizing and incorporating breath work into these types of release and relinquishing type rituals is really helpful, because it's like the physicality of it all, like you're exerting it and acknowledging it. I also love the physicality of shaking it out wherever you feel it to shake it out. Oftentimes when we incorporate physical movements into these rituals, it can help us envision more. It kind of reminds me what we used to do in choir when we would be singing certain things. If we wanted to have more open kind of guttural sound, we would be told to envision holding like a golf ball in the back of our mouth, like touching that part, in order for us to really encapsulate that sound in its fullest. And it helped exponentially. And so in the same way, I think that's what they're doing here. And I love that. I love it. And I love that they're showcasing the emotion of it all and the release of it all. This is also really good at showcasing what does often happen with ritual. It does, to some people, it can, like I said earlier, it can look very weird and crazy. And I think this is why a lot of people do this in the comfort of their own homes, where there's no fear of judgment. So I'm actually really proud of her, and I commend her a lot for videotaping this and showing it to her big audience, because it's not easy, but this is the type of work that can be very helpful if done consistently. And I will always be a huge advocate for pairing it with therapy as well. So. Also, you can see here that Mia is also vocalizing with her and shaking with her, and I love that. Again, this could look weird to some people, but she is matching her energy, she is elevating her energy, she is utilizing her energy and her vibration in order to help as well. I think it is huge. I think that's why I love that scene in Midsummer where they're I know this is probably a weird thing to reference because it's such a like, ooh, that movie. But the segment where I forgot the main character's name, but she's crying and all the matriarchal figures are surrounding her and they are matching her vocal movements, her whole flow. They're matching it, and it shows a form of solidarity with, and it's, I feel, also heightening the ritual and the energy in that space in order to accommodate and to also be in solidarity with the person who this ritual is for. I think it showcases a greater narrative of community, and community is very, very important, like I said, and I think it also showcases being there for them and holding space for them.
Good. You're in the hands of the goddess. She's just opening you, letting you open to yourself. So what does she want you to do to feel like she's being paid attention to?
She wants pleasure.
In our deepest innocence, pleasure is just letting yourself feel alive. It doesn't have to look one way, it can look an infinite number of ways.
All the guilt that I felt. I feel like guilty about the guilt.
Ain't that
So
the
much
truth?
time
Guilty
has been
about the
spent
guilt.
on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think this is just like a beautiful starting point, and you're so good at just taking yourself. You're just so good at going there. You go so deep so fast.
Every time going each step above, and it gets scarier and scarier. We've been conditioned to believe all these lies. Yeah. And this is true. This is the truth. I have to share the truth of my experience. And that's part of my practice, is overcoming that judgment and that fear of judgment, being so secure with myself and knowing so in my heart what I'm doing. Because all I care about is the people that watch this and they get it and something awakens in them. That's it. Oh my God. It's damn scary, but
What'd Rachel say? If it doesn't scare you,
you're not doing it right.
I'm gonna invite you to stand in the mirror and like make a proclamation to yourself. I want you to just stare into your eyes and speak everything that's true now. The pleasure is your power.
Pleasure is...
I really appreciate how Mia gives her a personalized kind of ritual to do. I think that's a really good affirmation for someone who really does struggle with harboring guilt just for feeling pleasure. And so I might have to utilize that one.
My power. Pleasure is 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 my power.
When we can step into our own power, you don't need anything outside of yourself. Pleasure is magnetic. Let yourself feel this pleasure so that you can magnetize even more of everything you desire. One of the most powerful and magical ways to nourish yourself, love yourself, and attract really anything that you desire is to take a bath. And I love to use all of the oils. Jasmine oil. When you want to manifest something, representing the five senses reality of it is really powerful. Every drop that I put in is like with an intention. Always put a little Epsom salt in there just for cleansing, purification. So you're sort of like gridding the space. So
Just a little note. Always be mindful of the essential oils that you are putting in there. Just keep in mind any allergies. I know they would say the same thing too. Just some further insight, because I have definitely done a bath ritual and added stuff that did not sit well with my body. And so I just would hate for someone else to learn this the hard way too. Again, this isn't a critique. They would probably mention this too.
every time you add flowers to a bath, you just want to bless them and honor them for their sweetness, for their sacrifice to your spell. Give them so much gratitude and appreciation so that that's what returns to you. You gotta get naked, girl?
I guess I have to. Let's go.
cauldron, so everything that we've put in it, all the roses, all the herbs, is part of the brew of the magic. You let the new memory that this water is creating, which is like safety, my pleasure is power, letting go of any guilt or shame to experience your pleasure.
I feel like I had so much release today.
Yeah.
I went into this day not knowing what to expect or what I wanted.
Yeah.
Even do I want to be manifesting a partner? I don't know. Now that the day is done, like it's been about giving myself that pleasure. This self-love is so important.
For me, this is the whole reason why I started Witch School.
I just love the way that Mia, she has a beautiful way with words and has great insight. So yeah.
Witch School is basically like online Hogwarts, where you get to come and cultivate a relationship to whatever your gifts and strengths are. There's so many different ways that we can all live more magically, and Witch School is really an invitation to cultivate any and all of those particular techniques that resonate with you.
There is a video coming about Witch School. I'm not gonna say too much right now, but holy shit, I cannot wait to share that video. Like the breakthroughs that I've had in Witch School, it's like, oh my God, this shit is real. This magic is real. It works. I can't believe like what I've been bringing into my life because of this and because of Witch School and learning this stuff.
For everyone, whatever you're trying to manifest, more magic, more money, more purpose. If you feel called to join us in crafting your wisdom in Witch School, I would love to offer you a discount, 10% off to any members of the Vibe Tribe using Sky's code. Sky.
We're about to turn off these damn cameras so I can just like actually be and experience this. But that's it for this episode of Sky Life. Thank you so much, Mia, for today. This was amazing.
Bless your bath, goddess.
Okay, so I think that is all I have for today. I thought overall that was a really great video. A lot of insight. I know I got a little nitpicky sometimes, but I actually really like Mia Magik a lot. I think that she is a very wise woman and very insightful and helpful. So I loved this video, and I also love that Sky is bringing it to a greater audience. Anything that can help to destigmatize witches and witchcraft and kind of re-educate and revitalize the movement away from the many demonizations that we have had, I am all on board for, and I appreciate it. So I can't wait to see what other videos they come out with. And let me know if you want me to react to some other things or if you even like this concept from me. But that is all I have for today. I'll talk to y'all later.